All right, it's recording. There we are. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome.
We're super excited that you guys are here. All right, we're going to give everybody a little bit of time to get in. Perfect.
Yep. You all know Shay. She needs no introduction with this group. It's a privilege on the Real Evolve side to be able to just do these events and to be a fly on the wall in terms of seeing the magic happen, where Shay goes in and really shares the secret sauce of how she got to where she's at. So as everyone comes in, put where you're from in the chat. It should be a nice cozy group today. We had about 100 register, so we typically have a nice group of people coming on in. We're going to launch a poll really quickly here. But before we do, and again, most of you have probably seen Shay. So this is a newer session for me on business planning for the second half of 2023, which I'm pretty excited for. But one thing, as you guys are coming in, the one thing I'm always blown away by is the simplicity of Shay's business. And I was thinking about this morning, and I was thinking, it takes real work and real ingenuity and real genius to simplify something as complex as running a real estate business. And so, Shay always gives a ton of information. It's always a lot of really, really, really good information. And it seems complex, but it's always simple. When you really think about it, she just cares about her clients. She just gets good referrals. She has a really good transaction process. People love her, right? And she's systematized that and got that down to a science. So I just want to learn about, kind of why everyone's here. I'm going to launch a quick poll. So what is your biggest challenge for the second half of 2023? If you don't see your option there, just put it in the chat, what you're seeing. Curious to kind of hear how everyone here is thinking about just filling their pipeline and growing their business for the second half of the year. And then do you have a 2023 business plan? How are you executing on that? And we're just going to get into brain mode here and hash through some things. So Shay Hatta, if you don't know her, guys, is a fantastic. I mean, she was just telling me earlier that she's done a dozen or so of these events with the Women's Council of Realtors. And so her sessions are always a treat. So everyone, thank you for coming. Shay, I'll let you, introduce yourself and we'll get into the good stuff.
Perfect. Well, I'm super excited to be here with you all. Thank you for taking time today. I know as realtors, our schedules are very, very busy, and kind of time is our most precious commodity. So I appreciate you being here today. Hopefully you're going to come away with a lot of great takeaways. If you haven't had a chance, please do the poll. It's always very interesting for us to see the poll results, and it will kind of skew a little bit what I talk about today. If there are particular things you were hoping I was going to talk about today, please feel free to put those in the chat box as well. And I will try to make sure to weave those topics in if they weren't something I was planning to address, so that you can get as much information as you were hoping to get out of the session today. If you have questions for me or for Real Evolve, please put those in the Q&A box, okay? Sam and Sophie from Real Evolve are going to be here. They're going to help me weed through those Q&A questions, and they're going to help me answer as many of them as they can, and then I'll try to answer the rest live. So if you have comments or things you're hoping I'll talk about, please put those in the chat. If you have questions, please put those in the Q&A box instead, okay? I know one big question we always get is this going to be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded. Within a couple of days, a copy of the recording will be sent out to you along with the slides, so you can always go back and revisit this as we go along. So, all right, Sam, do you think that was enough time for the poll? Should we stop sharing it and go ahead and
Absolutely
give the results out? All right, so we're going to share.
Yep. Everyone's seeing that?
Yep, share. And we're going to share the results with everybody. So let's see what it came in with. So it looks like kind of the biggest thing for the challenge for the second half of 2023 is that people feel like their pipeline is not predictable for the last half of this year and then also going into next year. So we're going to talk about that a lot today, how to get more people in your pipeline. And then people are feeling like they need to spend more time on revenue generating activities. So that was 35% of people. So those two things go hand in hand, right? If we're not spending time on revenue generating activities, we are not filling our pipeline. And this is the time of year, in my opinion, for most markets where it gets slower the last half of the year. You know, if you're in Arizona or something like that, where it's more of a vacation market, it may be opposite for you a little bit. But for a lot of the rest of us, the first half of the year is busy, the second half of the year is slow. And so that's when you need to be spending that time on revenue generating activities, particularly lead generation, so you can fill that pipeline. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So those seem to be kind of the two biggest issues, with the third being needing better follow-up systems. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today as well. For the second question, we asked, do you have a 2023 business plan? So 70% of you said that you did. That's great. I'm so impressed. That's actually a very high number compared to what I'm used to seeing. But I think for all of you, whether you have a business plan or not, we are in literally the middle of the year now. This is a good time for you to either implement a business plan for the last half of the year, or you need to sit down and look at your current business plan and figure out, what do you need to pivot and change for the last half of the year? Because, you know, I think for a lot of us, this first half of the year was a little bit different than we thought it might have been, right? At least in my market, inventory was incredibly low this year. Buyer demand was still pretty high, even with those 7% interest rates. So that certainly changed kind of how we're looking at things for the last half of the year. So let me get my presentation up on the screen, and we are going to jump right into tips to finish the year strong. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, a little bit of background information about me. I am a residential realtor in the Chicago area. The funny part of that is that I actually live in Denver. I moved to Denver a couple of years ago. And so I run my business in Chicago out of Denver. So I have a small team. It's 2 other realtors and myself. We also have 4 part-time assistants. So the way that we work is that there are 2 realtors assigned to every client. I work with every single client that we have. And then one of the other realtors who are in Chicago, boots on the ground, also work with each client. So that way they can handle showings, inspections, final walkthroughs, etc. And then from Denver, I handle lead generation. So bringing in new clients, talking to new clients. I typically do the pricing analysis. And then I do all the contracts, contract negotiations, inspection negotiations. So we sort of divide and conquer, and that way I can live here and still run the business from there. I do go back about once a month though as well. So I've been a realtor for about 11 years. I'm also an Ivy League grad. My most important job title is mom. So I am mom to a 7-year-old. And so I have very purposely set my schedule up so that I can essentially work from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. while he's in school. And then the rest of the time I'm off, unless I'm doing a contract negotiation or writing a contract, something like that. So, you know, I think one of the things that we have that's a misnomer about real estate is we think that, you know, that we have to be at the mercy of our clients and that we don't have a lot of control over our schedule. And I do think that there's a lot of truth in that in the very beginning when you're a new realtor and you're getting started and you're hungry and you kind of have to take any clients that you have. But once you get more established, you can actually change that and make the schedule work for you. So I don't really work weekends. I don't work nights at all anymore, you know, but that took me 8 years to get there, right? So in the beginning, you kind of have to do everything. As you get busier, you can start to figure out what kind of a schedule works for you. So my team does about 75 million in transaction volume a year, about 150 to 175 transactions. Our average price point is 400,000. We typically work from people from about 130,000 to, it was 2 million, but we just closed our highest transaction at 2.6 million a couple of weeks ago. So that was super exciting for us as a team. I'm a big believer in giving back. So we donate a portion of each commission to local schools and local animal rescue groups. So that's just a little bit about me in a nutshell. So we're going to kind of jump in right now to my business philosophy. Okay. So essentially my philosophy, and real estate is my third business. I owned 2 previous businesses prior, which I built up and sold to foreign investors. So my background since I was a kid, my parents always started businesses, built them up, and then usually sold them. So that's kind of the model I've seen as a kid. So that's what I've always done. And I don't do well working for other people. But what I learned from being a kid is that customer service and customer care are the most important things in a business. And if you can treat your clients like family, you will have a very loyal client base. And so that's what I've always done in every business that I have owned. And so with real estate in particular, I decided that it really needed to be a relationship-based business. I see a lot of realtors who I think make a big mistake in making their business very transactional, right? They don't give gifts after closing. They don't stay in contact with their clients after closing. And to me, those were huge red flags that would prevent them from really growing. So when I got into real estate, I decided that what I was going to really do was love on my clients. I was going to make every client feel like they were my only client that I had. And that has served me well and allowed me to grow my business. I want to be very clear. I do not buy leads. I have never bought leads in my life from Zillow, Realtor.com, etc. I will never buy leads. Okay. I do not door knock. I do not work expireds. I do not cold call. I do not work for sale by owners. My business is entirely sphere-based and referral-based. And I thought that that was very important because I think that builds a very stable foundation where I don't have to rely on another company to give me business and grow my business. My business naturally grows exponentially because I have a very loyal client base that are raving fans. In order to do that, though, you have to provide white glove service. Okay. And that means that my clients truly feel like they are my only client, even though they are one of 175 per year. So I get back to them very, very quickly. I am incredibly honest with them. I am direct with them. They know that they can trust me. They know I know my stuff, and we go above and beyond for them. Things like we offer to arrange moving quotes. So we will arrange for movers to come over to their house and give them moving quotes. If they can't be home, somebody from my team will let the mover in and get the moving quotes for them. We've even overseen full service moves. So they've hired somebody to pack them. They've gone out of town, the clients. We've been there to let the packers in and oversee them packing. We then will come back the next day and oversee the movers moving all of their stuff to their new house. So we really talk to our clients about what can we do to make this experience as easy and as stress-free for you as possible. We regularly take care of, arranging for carpet cleaning quotes, duct cleaning quotes, electricians, painters. We'll call 3 or 4 different people, get those quotes for them. They decide who to hire, and then we will take care of scheduling it and letting people in. So we tell them we are basically your assistant through the whole real estate transaction. There's really nothing you can ask us, as long as it's not illegal, that we aren't willing to help you with. So we will arrange babysitters, we will arrange dog walkers, we will arrange dog boarding, we will arrange for somebody to come out over and plant flowers in front of their house, shovel the snow, whatever it is. We are simply their assistant to make this as stress-free from them as possible. Okay. And that shows them that we really care about them and that we are different from other people in our market. We also try to have a lot of communication with them, because the number one complaint that customers have or clients have from their realtor is a lack of communication. They felt like they didn't hear from their realtor enough. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about kind of how we handle that. But I think what's important is that you need to be communicating with your clients more so than you probably think you need to be doing. Okay. And somebody asked, do I schedule and pay or just schedule? So for all of these services, we don't pay for any of these services. We don't pay for their movers, their packers, their electricians, the painters. We just take care of getting quotes for them. So we will ask them if there's certain people they want to get quotes from. And if so, we'll arrange those. If not, we'll call 3 or 4 electricians that we know, get quotes for them, give them the quotes. They decide who they're going to hire. They hire that person, they pay that person, but we will take care of letting that person in and overseeing the work for them if they would like, just to make things easier for them. So hopefully that answers your question. All right. So the last half of the year, to me, this is where I see a lot of people make mistakes, because a lot of people have been so busy the first half of the year that once it slows down, they go to the golf course, they go to the gym, they take their vacations, etc. And those are things you should be doing. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I definitely do those things too, but you also need to still be putting in the work to lead generate, to make sure you fill your pipeline for next year and that you finish the year strong. So to me, I don't don't spend a ton of time lead generating in spring and early summer when we're really busy. This is the time of year where I hit lead generating super hard. So we don't have a lot of events the first half of the year. The second half of the year, we always have a lot of events. So we've got a photo shoot coming up next month where all of our clients are invited to come for 10-minute mini photo sessions at 4 different locations around the Chicago area. We usually do some sort of event in October where we'll go to like a pumpkin farm and invite all of our clients to come, and we'll buy their tickets. We always do a Thanksgiving pie giveaway. Then usually December or January, we'll rent out a movie theater and have all of our clients come. So we kind of stack our events the last half of the year to fill that pipeline for spring. So to me, this is when you should be planning and doing events. Okay. This is also when you should be refining those systems. So we take the last half of the year to look at all the systems that we have, figure out what's working, what's not working, where are there holes, where can we be more efficient? So if we have downtime where we're not out with clients, we are working in our business on those systems, and we're spending the rest of our time really networking. Online social media ramps up, right? So all the things you didn't have time to do the first half of the year because you were so busy with clients, those are the things you need to do now. Don't just sit back and hope the business comes next year. You have to really put the time in now to get that business to come, okay? So one of my favorite stats that I heard when I first got into real estate was how many clients say they are going to use the same realtor when they buy or sell next time. So if everybody can put a guess in the chat box, how many clients, past clients of yours, do you think are planning to use you again in the future when they buy or sell? So put a percentage in the chat box. I'm going to give everybody a minute or so to do that. Let's see who has a guess. So do you think it's 10%, 100%? How many of your clients do you think are planning to use you again? So Carrie said 75%. I've got some 60s, 90%, 80%, 50%. Okay, 65%. I'm going to give everybody a few more seconds to put their guesses in here. Right? So hopefully you've done a good job. Your clients like you. They want to use you again. You've done a good job of communicating with them during the transaction. Okay. So that statistic is 88%. So 88% of your past clients are planning to use you again in the future when they buy or sell. Okay. So now out of those 88%, I want you to take a guess what percentage actually end up using their realtor when they go to buy or sell in the future. So put that in the chat box. So 88% are planning to, but what percentage actually use their realtor again? Okay, so I see 25%, 10%, 15% from Felicity, lots of 20% coming through, 25%. All right, I'll give everybody 40%. Dewana is like, my clients are definitely going to use me. All right, let's give everybody another couple of seconds to put their answers in here. Okay. So in reality, while 88% are planning to use you again, only 12% actually did. Okay. So when I heard that statistic, that was mind blowing to me, because to me, that says there are 76% of clients that for some reason liked their realtor, were planning to use their realtor, but didn't use their realtor, right? So if I can get that number up from 12% to 60%, 70%, 80%, 88%, that alone would cause my business to grow dramatically. And that is literally the foundation of my business. This statistic is what I built my business on, was trying to get that 12% number to be higher. Okay. Now, can anybody take a guess? Put in the chat box, why only 12% of the realtor, or 12% of clients use their realtor again? What do you think the number one issue was that caused it to go from 88% planning to only 12% actually using their realtor? Okay. Yes, you guys know this one, right? Agents don't follow up post-closing. Realtors don't keep in touch. Okay. And I always joke, and this is actually true, I do not remember my hairdresser's name. And I see her every 8 weeks, 12 weeks, something like that, right? But I don't remember her name. And I'm embarrassed at this point to ask her name, because I should know her name, right? But I don't. And I see her every 12 weeks. People are not going to remember who you are if you do not maintain that relationship, if you are not staying in contact with them. Okay. Here's the other very interesting stat that came out from the National Association of Realtors last fall. On average, how many years do you think people who bought in the last year or two are now planning to stay in their house. Okay. So put in the chat box, how many years do you think people are planning to stay in their house? When I first got into real estate, it was 3 to 5 years. That number has changed a lot since I got into real estate 11 years ago, and not in a good way for us realtors, right? So I see some 3 years, 10 years. I see a lot of 10 years, 7 years. Okay, let's give everybody a second, 8 years for a couple more guesses, and then I will tell you, because this stat that came out last year also has dramatically changed how I run my business. Okay, so 10 years. So according to the National Association of Realtors, as of this past fall, people are planning to stay in their house for 13 to 15 years now. Okay. So what does that mean going forward? That means there's likely to be a lot less inventory going forward. I think this inventory, this shortage that we're seeing now, is going to be the foreseeable future, because it's going to be really hard for people to give up 2.5% interest rates, 3% interest rates. Even if interest rates come back down to 5%, that's going to be hard for people to want to sell at that interest rate level, right? The other issue, houses are a lot more expensive, so people have bought houses that are oftentimes going to be their forever home at this point, and they're willing to stay there for a long time because housing is just become so expensive for them to move to another house. So what does that mean for you? That means that if you want to get this statistic from 12% to 88%, you need to do a much better job following up after the transaction ends. And you need to follow up for 15 years. Okay. So you need a 15-year follow-up plan if you want to get this number up. And this is literally the most important thing you can do, in my opinion, to grow your business, is stay in better contact with your clients after the transaction ends, because these 88% of people, they already like you. They know you do a good job. And not only can they use you again, those 88% can refer you to their friends and their family. But in order to do that, they have to remember your name. Okay. So this isn't rocket science here, right? I haven't done anything groundbreaking. All I have done that's better than a lot of other realtors is do a really good job staying in contact with my clients. And that is easy. If I can do it, you can do it. Okay. So you just have to commit this next 6 months to put plans in place to stay in contact with your clients. Okay. So what should you be doing to increase your retention rates? Lead generate, right? We're going to talk a lot about that today, how to lead generate. Post-transaction follow-up emails. I think this is the most important thing you should be doing with your past clients in your sphere. Once a month, reaching out to them with some sort of helpful email, okay? Not a recipe. No offense if you're sending out recipes, but I don't need your grandma's famous pot roast recipe. Now that we have the internet, I can find that on Pinterest. I can Google that in 2 seconds on the internet. What I need to know from you is stuff about real estate. I need to know, how do I maintain my home? How do I save money on my home? What kinds of remodeling projects are going to give me the greatest return? That's the stuff I need to know from my realtor, not recipes. Okay. So post-transaction follow-ups, text, phone calls. This is the easiest thing you can do. Literally sit down, watch a movie, go through all of your clients in your database. Hopefully you have a database. If you don't, I'm going to talk to you about that today as well. And just text them. Oftentimes I'll just say something like, hey, happy Monday. I was in your area for a showing and it made me think of you. How are you doing? How's the house? How's the kids? Right? Just something simple like that to communicate with your clients is the easiest, cheapest, free thing you can do. And you should be texting your clients every couple of months to follow up with them. Okay. So if you haven't been doing that, it's going to be a little weird the first time, but just reach out to them and say, hey, I know we haven't talked in a couple of years, but I was thinking about you. I wanted to know how you're doing. How's the house doing? Is there anything I can help you with? Right? Don't be afraid to follow up with them. I'm not a big phone call person, so I don't call my clients ever, but I text them, and I feel like that's not like too intrusive on them if they're in the middle of their workday, just to send a quick text and check in with them. Okay. Be their go-to resource. Let them know that you have a great Rolodex provider of electricians, painters, plumbers, carpenters, estate planning attorneys, divorce attorneys, whatever it is that they might need, babysitters, okay? And that they should be coming to you for that information. You want to be their first phone call or text anytime they need a referral for something. That's going to keep you top of mind. You want them to always say, you know what, I'm going to reach out to Shay. She has a guy or a girl for everything, okay? You need to be that go-to resource. I think you should be putting that resource page on your website as well, so they can access it 24 hours a day, but you need to be telling your clients that you have great resources for them. I think you should be sending out birthday cards and home anniversary cards. To me, this is a super simple, easy thing to do. I think you should have a mailing program. I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit today. You need to be getting reviews. 2 out of 3 potential clients research you extensively before they decide to use you. The 3 things that they are looking for that you need to have. Number 1, reviews, okay? The number 1 review site is Zillow. Regardless of how you feel about Zillow, you should have a page on it where you are getting reviews, because that is where consumers are going to look for reviews of you, okay? Second thing they are looking for, a website. I think it's really important you have your own website, and it should have good content on it that explains how the real estate transaction works in your local market. Number 3 thing that they are looking for, social media sites. So you need Facebook. I think you need Instagram as well. If you have clients who are on, Twitter or Snapchat, whatever, you should be in those areas. But I think that everybody needs an Instagram page and a Facebook page. And I'll talk to you about those as well. I think you need to be doing events, okay? At least 2 events a year. I do about 5 to 6 events a year. To me, these are really important. Every time I do an event, I get business from that event, okay? You should be doing pop buys, pop-ins, okay? Posting on social media, which we're going to talk about, okay? So let me go back to this. None of these things are rocket science. I am not telling you something you don't already know. Hopefully I'm going to give you some ideas you don't already know in a little bit, but these are things you should be doing. You just need to actually do them. This is the difference between being a successful realtor doing 75, 100, 50 million a year and not. Those who are successful do these things. The people who are not successful talk about doing these things. They think about doing these things, but they don't actually do them. It doesn't count unless you actually do it. So spend the next 6 months actually doing these things, okay? That will grow your business. So let's dive into how to do some of these things. Social media, okay? I think social media is really important to get clients and to keep you top of mind with clients. Again, I think you should have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. I don't personally think you're going to get a ton of business from a Facebook business page or an Instagram business page, okay? I think you should have them. I think you should be posting on them. But in my opinion and in my experience, where you're going to get most of your clients is from your personal Instagram page and your personal Facebook page. I think you should friend request all of your clients on Facebook and become friends with all of them. People want to work with people that they like, okay? So you need to be likable on your social media. Don't be crazy. If you are crazy, don't post that stuff on there. Don't let your freak flag fly on your social media. Seem normal, okay? People want to work with normal, sane people. So keep some of that stuff on the down low, okay? But, again, do be yourself, right? But don't be crazy. So on your Facebook page, I think on your wall, you should be posting stuff about yourself. So I post stuff that I think is going to be relatable to my clients, particularly mom fails, where like I really screwed something up as a mom. People can relate to that, right? And again, people want to work with people that they like. So on your wall, post stuff about you so that people can get to know you, so that they'll like you and they want to work with you. Where I think it's really important to post about real estate is in the stories section at the top of Facebook. So those are the pictures that only, or videos that only show for 24 hours. And people have to actually click on them to see them. So if you're posting about real estate and people are clicking on it, it's because they want to actually see it. I don't want to annoy people by posting about real estate on my Facebook wall, because that's not why people friended me, right? But in that story section, they're buying in. So I think you need to be posting in that story section at least 2 to 4 times a day about real estate. And I think you need to be connecting your Facebook personal page with that story section with your personal Instagram page, so that you can post once and it will go in both places. Ideally, I think it's important that you post on Instagram, on your personal page on Instagram, and then have it push into the story section, because Instagram has a lot more options for graphics and polls and things like that you can do than Facebook stories does. So you can make it more interactive with your clients. So connect the two, your personal stories section on Facebook and your personal Instagram, post on Instagram so it pushes through to that Facebook stories section, okay? I think you should also be looking for Facebook groups that are area specific. In my opinion, you are not going to get a lot of business just commenting on your clients' posts, okay? Or having them comment on yours. It does keep you top of mind, but that's not really going to how you're going to get the business. I think you have to be more strategic about how you get business. So these are some examples that my business partner, Lauren Calderoni, has posted in her Facebook stories, okay? And she's the queen of this. We're actually talking to a new client tonight at 6:30 who found her via Instagram. She was following her on Instagram, saw all the posts, sees what a busy realtor is, reached out to her yesterday to ask if we could help them buy a house, right? So this really does work. We close about $10 million a year just from clients who come from Instagram and Facebook, who follow us and see how busy we are and want to work with us. Okay. So think about what you can be posting. You know, in some markets, you can post the pictures of insides of houses when you go for showing. Some markets you can't. So you have to figure out if you can do that in your market. In ours, we can. So we oftentimes will post whenever we go to a showing, we'll take a picture, post a picture of it or a video of it, especially if there's something cool in there. Maybe there's a cool chandelier or a fireplace or a sink or whatever it is like that. If you're in your market, you can't do the outside of the inside of the house, you can often take a picture of the outside of the house and post that instead to show people all the showings that you're doing, because people want to work with busy realtors. Okay. You can also post things like when you're giving your client the keys at the final walkthrough, inspection, maybe do an inspection tip from your inspector that's 20 seconds about how to change a furnace filter, something like that, right? You can post a picture, take a picture of yourself on this class today, post that saying, hey, I'm learning some new things so I can be a better resource for my clients, right? When you write a contract, you can take a picture of that and post it. The good thing is we are in a very visual business. So pretty much anything you do in real estate, you can take a picture of and post it. So you should be posting that again, 2 to 4 times a day, if not more, in that stories section. The other great thing to get clients from social media is Facebook groups. So when I moved to Denver, Kate Swenson is a realtor in the Denver area. She started this Moving to Denver, Colorado page, and she cleans up on this page. So essentially anybody who's moving to Denver, Colorado can join this private group, but you have to fill out a survey to join it. And she asks, are you a realtor? If you're a realtor, she does not let you into this group because she wants to be the only realtor in the group. And she asks, are you buying? Are you planning to rent? When are you moving? Do you need help finding a place to live? What questions do you have about moving into the Denver area? So it's a whole little survey you fill out, and then she lets you join the group. And this group is very active. People are constantly posting multiple times a day on here with questions about like, hey, I'm going to be moving to Denver. My daughter is really into dance. What are the best dance studios so that I can try to live near one of the best dance studios in Denver, right? Or I'm looking for a pediatrician, you know, can people give a recommendation for one? Or I want to be in, you know, a certain school district, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of times these are questions that Kate, as a realtor, we can't answer because they could violate fair housing, steering, redlining, things like that, right? But other people can answer those questions. And then she can kind of sit back and jump in and be like, hey, if you need a realtor, I'm here to help you. So it's free. It doesn't cost her anything but her time, but she's able to get a ton of clients from this page. So if something like that doesn't exist in your area, I would consider starting one. The other thing is you can also start more neighborhood specific pages. So there's a realtor in my area, Haley, who started this Moms of Southport corridor. It's a very wealthy area in Chicago. It's a small area, maybe like 10 by 10 blocks, not very big, but it's where a lot of the expensive homes are. And so she started this Facebook page in there, and word spread as she got all these moms to join, and people do ask for, you know, babysitter recommendations, pediatricians, dentists, all those kinds of things. What she has started doing is, you know, she's kind of the resource for real estate, but she has started posting coming soons. So in our market, we're allowed to post coming soons. I know in some markets you're not. Some markets you're only allowed to post them 24 hours in advance. So you have to figure out how that works in your market. But what she'll post in here is, hey, coming soon. And it's not her listing. She'll get permission from other agents to post their coming soon listing on this page. And she'll say, if you're interested in this listing, reach out to me and I'd be happy to set up a showing or get you more information. And so she's kind of become the queen in this area of all the new coming soons. And so everybody wants to work with her to find out information about listings before they go live. Okay. And it's just a great place for people to kind of ask questions in general and for her to be really well known. So again, it doesn't cost her anything but a little bit of her time and allows her to get a ton of business. What I did rather than starting groups was I joined all the Facebook groups in the different areas that I worked where groups existed. And what I was looking for were groups where they were active. People were asking questions for pediatricians, sports camps, you know, dentists, all of those kinds of things, because I knew eventually then someone would ask for a realtor recommendation. And so what I do is I monitor those pages every day. I'll go on to each page and I'll type in, you know, realtor, real estate, something like that. And so I look for somebody asking. And what I have found is when somebody asks for a realtor, you're going to have 30, 40, 50 realtors jump in and say, hey, use me, use me. That is not effective. Okay. What I have found is that for whatever reason, people trust the opinion of strangers on the internet who they have never met before for recommendations. So what I have found is much more effective is when I join these groups, I go in and I try to figure out which of my clients would make sense to join this group as well. So like this is the Westtown group. So when I joined this group, I went through my client database and I invited all my clients who lived in Westtown. And I said, hey, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's this great group in Westtown where you can ask for recommendations for things. I'm going to invite you because it might be helpful now that you live in the Westtown area. So I got all my clients to be in these groups. So now when I see somebody asking for a real estate recommendation, I will take a screenshot of it. And then I will either Facebook message my clients who are in that group, or I'll text them and I'll say, hey, Andrea, remember that Westtown Facebook group that I invited you to join? There's this mom, Rebecca DeLuca, who's looking for a realtor recommendation. Would you mind taking a minute and going on and recommending me? I would really appreciate it because, as you know, I don't advertise my services. All of my clients come from word of mouth. And so because I've stayed in contact with my clients, they're usually very happy to do that for me. And so what'll happen is I'll sort of sit back and I'll watch all my clients go on and recommend me. And I'll wait until I have 5, 10 clients who go on and recommend me. And then I'll jump in and be like, oh my goodness, thank you all so much. That was so kind of you to recommend me. I really appreciate it. And I'm kind of messaging them on the side being like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Let's get brunch, or I owe you coffee or whatever it is. And then I'll reach out to this person like Rebecca. And because I've had all these people recommend me versus me recommending myself, I find that the potential client is much more likely to talk to me and use me. So this ended up being a $1.2 million listing that I got. It took me about 10 minutes of my time to message my clients. I ended up having, I don't think I have a screenshot of this. Oh, I do. I ended up having about 8 or 10 clients go on and recommend me, whereas everybody else just recommended themselves or maybe had one client recommend me. I private messaged her. We set up an appointment to talk and I got the listing. So again, it didn't cost me anything other than some time, but was very effective because clients were recommending me, not me recommending myself. So I would look in your area for Facebook groups that you can join that already exist, maybe HOAs, different neighborhoods, things like that. If they don't exist, make one or make a moving to wherever it is that you live. Okay. Again, we close about $10 million in business just from these kind of tips that we do on social media. Some other things that you can do on social media. So my friend Stacey Berry, who's one of the top realtors in Indianapolis, she does this every year, which I think is brilliant. So what she does is she says for all Girl Scouts, if you call and pitch her why she should buy a box of Girl Scouts from you, she will buy a box from you. And so what happens is this goes viral amongst all the Girl Scout troops in the Indianapolis area. All the little girls are calling her and pitching her. She's buying cookies from them. And then she turns it into a client appreciation event where she'll have the cookies at her office. Any clients can come by and pick up a free box of cookies from her office. So it's lead generation and client appreciation all rolled into one for $5 a box. Okay. And I know as a mom, if you do something nice for my kid, I am going to love you forever. So if you're a realtor and you buy cookies from me, I'm probably going to use you when I need to buy or sell in the future, right? So, and it's just a great, easy, simple way. So yes, this one does cost a little bit of money, but for $5, client appreciation and lead generation. So something very simple you can put on your radar to do next spring when Girl Scout cookies come out, okay? So some other things I think you should be spending the last half of the year on is getting organized with your contacts. You should have a CRM. If you don't have a CRM, you really need to have one because a lot of the things I'm going to talk about in the last half of this class, you need to be able to email out to everybody in your database, okay? And in my opinion, having all of your contacts in Excel, that just doesn't work, right? Like that's creating more work for yourself. So I use RealVolve. Obviously, RealVolve is who is sponsoring this webinar today. I've been using RealVolve for about maybe 8 or 9 years, something like that. And what I love about RealVolve is that you can put in milestone dates in the transaction. So I can put in the final walkthrough date, the inspection date, the appraisal date. I can put in the closing date, the mortgage contingency deadline, and it will send automatic emails out based on those dates. So an example would be the day before the inspection. I have my RealVolve set up so that it reminds my buyer, hey, tomorrow's your inspection at 10 a.m. Please feel free to bring water, but don't bring food. We can't eat in somebody else's house. wear shoes you can slip on and off because you're probably going in and out a lot. Feel free to bring a tape measure, make sure your phone's fully charged so you can take pictures of the insides of closets and things like that. But then it will also send a reminder to the inspector being like, hey, I just want to remind you, you have an inspection with us at this address tomorrow at 10. It will also send an email to the listing agent being like, hey, don't forget to remind your sellers, we have the inspection tomorrow at 10. Please make sure that we have clear access to the electrical panel and the utilities. Make sure they have soap in the dishwasher because we're going to run it. So if they have dirty dishes in there, they might as well get clean. Make sure the washing machine is empty because we're going to run that, right? So all sorts of potential problems you can head off and address ahead of time by having a good CRM where emails go out automatically based on those milestone dates. And it's really hard to find a CRM where you can put milestone dates in. That is the number one reason that I use RealVolve, is that I can put those milestone dates in, which have all sorts of automatic emails go out based on those milestone dates. Okay. So I have 7 different workflows in RealVolve. I have a prospective buyer workflow. So that's going to be anybody I meet at like an open house, a buyer who's maybe not ready to buy for a year or two. So I have automatic emails that go out to them, trying to get them ready to buy and keeping me front and center in front of them for when they are ready to buy. I also have a prospective seller workflow. So same thing on the sell side. That's somebody who maybe is not ready to sell for a year or two, but I'm going to talk to them about things they can be doing now to get their house ready, right? Like, have they had their HVAC serviced in the last year? If not, they should. Have they had their chimney cleaned? If not, let's get that done, right? Let's talk about doing paint touch-ups or maybe painting kitchen cabinets or remodeling a bathroom, right? Let's talk about all the paperwork they're going to need to gather when they're eventually ready to sell. How far in advance of selling should they put their place on the market? Okay. Those are all things that go out automatically from that workflow. I also have a current buyer workflow. So that's somebody who's ready to buy now. We're out doing showings. It talks to them about, can they cancel a contract after closing? How much money should they have for earnest money? So all sorts of frequently asked questions. Once they go under contract, they move to my buyer under contract workflow. Okay. That takes them from under contract through closing. It gives them information like the inspection about what is the next step that they need to know about. Because again, the number one complaint from consumers is that we do not communicate enough. You can solve that by having a good CRM that sends out information for you automatically based on those milestone dates in the contract. On the sell side, same thing. I have a seller current workflow. Okay. That's a seller who's decided they want to sell. Maybe they're not going to sell for a couple months, but we're going to have them start to work on all the paperwork. We're going to take them through what they need to do to prepare for open houses, going on the market, how many showings should they expect, et cetera. Okay. Then we have our seller under contract workflow. So that workflow takes them from once they get under contract through closing. So that takes them through what happens at an appraisal, what happens at inspection. They need to order the plat, all of those kinds of things. Then I have the closed client workflow. In my opinion, the closed client workflow is the most important. That is that 15-year workflow that follows up with clients after the transaction ends. So mine is set up to reach out to them once a month with an email. You can also set it up to automatically text them through RealVolve so that you can have pre-done texts in there. So you don't even have to think about texting them. You can also put reminders in there to call them, and you can actually call them through RealVolve and record the conversations if you want. So you always have a record of them. Okay. So this is why it's important to have a good CRM so that you can automate those communications. So Tracy asked, are the workflows already within the CRM or does the agent custom create them? Sophie, do you want to jump in? Because I know it's a little bit different from when I signed up, that I know you guys give them some stuff to get them started. So do you want to jump in and kind of answer that question?
I think so. I'm not sure if Sophie's on video there, but there are a number of free workflows. We offer a lot more free options now than we did, Shay, when you first started. I'm not sure if we even had any when you first started. It was all from scratch, but we have lead conversion, we have past client follow-up, we have some transaction stuff in there as well. So yeah, lots of different options.
Yep. And what I would say is that real estate is very specific to your local market. So even if RealVolve gives you kind of a basic workflow, you're going to have to go in and adapt it for your particular market, right? There's also a bunch of ones you can buy. I sell my workflows in there. A lot of other people do as well. So if you don't want to have to create things from scratch, you can always buy a workflow, they're in the workflow library, or like I did, you can create them from scratch. So what I did was I sat down and I wrote down all the steps in a transaction. And then I put in there the corresponding emails that needed to go out. And especially with Chat GPT, boy, it is a lot easier now to custom create a workflow than it was when I did it, where I had to write everything. Whereas now you can go to Chat GPT and say, hey, I need a 3-paragraph email to my client, to my buyer clients, explaining what happens at an inspection, and Chat GPT in a couple of seconds will spit that out for you. And then all you have to do is edit it. So you've got lots of options. You can use the basic RealVolve's emails and workflows that RealVolve gives you. You can buy them from me or somebody else in the library. You can custom create them and use something like Chat GPT to do that. Okay. What I like about RealVolve is it's not just sending out emails though, it's also a transaction management program. So you basically can create a checklist in here of all the things that you need to do in addition to those emails going out. So reminders for you to order the home warranty, reminders for you to order the water certificate, right? So this is a copy of kind of the beginning of my workflow. So that way nothing falls through the cracks. You're always reminded of what you need to do in the transaction to keep it moving forward and make sure that everything happens. So it's not just emails, it's also all the transaction steps as well. Paulette asked, is there a way of getting your workflows if you don't have RealVolve? No, you would have to have RealVolve because you would download the workflows, mine or whoever's, from our RealVolve into your RealVolve. So you can only have access to those if you are a RealVolve user, okay? Whatever program you use, I think your emails to your clients should be short. I don't like them to be longer than 1 to 2 paragraphs so somebody can read them on their phone screen without scrolling. Because I think if they're too long, nobody's going to pay attention to them. So we try to make them very, very short, like the example on here. If they're going to have to be longer, then what I do is I have a hyperlink that links them through to my website, so that people can click there if they're interested in reading the full long email, but they don't get turned off by that actual email being very long. Okay, so that's kind of how we handle the longer emails. So I think the most important workflow that you need to have in RealVolve or whatever system you're going to use is an after the transaction workflow. Again, I think this one should be 15 years. Every month you should have emails that go out to them. And these need to be things that are going to help them save time or money on their house, are my kind of thoughts on this. So these are some of our most popular ones: claiming their home on Zillow so it can't be used in any sort of scam after closing. Home maintenance reminders, I'm going to show you an example of that. So we send those out quarterly. Reminders to appeal their property taxes, pay their property taxes. Most cities and state have programs where people can get free money for, fixing their sidewalk, or maybe, some money for putting in a new high efficiency HVAC system. So research those grants and discounts, solar panel discounts, things like that, and send information out to those about your clients. And then do weather specific and time of year specific emails. So if it's really going to be cold and you're worried about people's pipes freezing, send an email out via your database saying, hey, I'm really worried about your pipes freezing tomorrow. Here's what you need to do to prevent them from freezing. Here's what you do if they freeze. Okay. You want to help people protect their home. If it hails really badly and you're worried about hail damage, send an email out saying, hey, I'm really worried that people might have hail damage from that storm that just passed through earlier this morning. Here are my 3 recommended roofers. Call them, have them come out and take a look at your roof. Do not trust some random person who just shows up at your door saying they're a roofer, right? And if it's really bad, file a homeowner's insurance claim. Here's how you do that, right? So be that go-to resource for them in case of natural disasters or weather-related things, right? And then talk to them about other things they need to be doing to protect their home. So home security, rotting their sewer line regularly, right? Those are the things that as their realtor, you can help them with, that they're not going to get from other people and they're not going to know about. The nice thing about this is once you create the email once, as long as you put it in your database like RealVolve, you don't have to do it again. And now with the click of a button, if I know it's going to be really cold, I can send out that pipes freezing email and it goes out to all 15,000 people in my database. And I only had to create that email once. Okay. So these are the kinds of emails you should be creating over the next 6 months and starting to send out to your clients. I think you should also be doing home maintenance checklists. So these are graphics we made once. We never had to make it again. We send these out once a quarter to everybody in our database. We also post them on social media. So that's a nice thing about a lot of these Emails, you can make a corresponding graphic and send it out via email, but then also use it as a social media post as well. Okay. So it's a lot of work to create this stuff, but the nice thing is you only have to do it once. I don't do a ton of mailings. I do event postcard mailings. You could also mail this out. It would be a pretty graphic to mail to people if you wanted to do a postcard mailing as well. Some other things, once you have everybody in your database, one of the best things that we do during the fall to get new sellers is we send out an email starting in August saying, hey, if you are thinking about selling over the winter or early spring when it looks like crap outside, let's take your exterior photos now. So we send that out in August every single week through September. And we usually have about 12 to 18 sellers who reach out to us from our database and say, hey, I am thinking about selling next year. So let's do the exterior photos now. They don't need to be home. They just tell us what day would work. We coordinate the photographer. We have the photographer just go out and shoot their exteriors. We would have paid for exteriors anyway, so it's not a big deal. We do have them sign a listing agreement saying that they're going to go on the market sometime in the next year for us. Again, in Illinois, we can do that. You'd have to figure out how that works with listing agreements in your area, but that we're able to secure them as a client. And then over the next 6 months, we're able to start to talk to them about doing the paperwork, repairs they should be doing, getting the chimney cleaned, all of that kind of stuff. So it's not so stressful for them at the end. So again, a very simple thing that doesn't really cost us any money other than putting together an email that gets us about 12 to 18 new sellers every fall to fill our pipeline for spring. Okay. Some other things that we're doing. So every year we do the 10 things you must know for buying in 2021. Okay. So these are online classes via Zoom that we then also Facebook live stream at the same time. They're very short, 20 to 30-minute classes. Usually we invite a lender to come on and do the class with us, sometimes a financial planner as well. We have a PowerPoint that's 10 slides, and it's things like how far in advance should you start looking for a house? Can you cancel the contract after you go under contract? How much money do you need for a down payment? How much money do you need for earnest money, right? All those kinds of things. So we start doing those classes in the fall, because oftentimes in the fall is when buyers and sellers are starting to think about buying or selling next spring. So we do a buying class and we do a selling class. We advertise those via our database, via RealVolve to everybody in our database. And then we'll also do Facebook ads, Instagram ads to get new people to come to those classes, and we'll post them on social media. So again, this doesn't cost us much, 20 or 30 bucks. We do them online. People can show up, answer any questions. We actually find more people watch the recording than they do the live one. So if you're going to do these, make sure you record them so you can send them out to everybody afterwards. Okay. I'm also a huge fan of doing open houses in the fall, because again, a lot of people are going to start to go to open houses in the fall, not planning to buy until the spring. So I like doing first-time home buyer open houses, properties that just came on the market. So if you're a new agent, you don't have listings, talk to busy agents in your office and say, hey, I would love to do open houses for you. Is that something you would be open to? That's how I built my business, was open houses for other agents, because I had no listings. Couple quick tips for open houses. Do not follow people around the property. That makes them feel weird and gross. So I always tell the sellers, or if it's not my listing, I tell the listing agent, make sure the sellers have taken any valuables out of the house, because I'm not going to follow people around. It also keeps you safer because you can stay near the front door, so you can get out in emergency. You're not going to get stuck in the basement with some weird axe murder. I always find it's really best to have people sign out rather than sign in, because if you ask them for their contact information the moment they walk in the door, they're oftentimes put off. But if you haven't been creepy and weird and followed them around, then when they leave and you ask them to sign out, they're more likely to give you their real contact information. I have never had anybody after an open house reach out to me and say, hey, I loved you. I thought you were awesome. I'd love to work with you. That does not work. Instead, you have to follow up with them. So on Monday, I start to send them MLS listings that I think would be a good fit. And I say, hey, in case this house wasn't a good fit for you, here's some others that I thought might interest you. And I set them up on an MLS search. And I say, if these are not the kind of properties you're looking for, let me know. But I want them set up on that auto search so that they're hearing from me every day with new potential houses. So if they mark something as interested, I can reach out and say, hey, I saw you marked 1234 Main Street as interested. When would you like to see it? and I just kind of assume they're my client. At the same time, I put them on that prospective buyer workflow where once a month they're getting educational information from me about buying a house. So it's kind of a two-step process. Okay. Somebody asked, how do you trust they don't steal anything from the open house? That's why your sellers or the listing agent needs to talk to the seller about taking anything small that could be stolen that's valuable outside of the house, because that is the inherent risk with any open house. So they need to take out prescription drugs, things that can be used in identity theft, jewelry, watches, electronics. Those things need to leave during an open house, because even if you're following them around, you're not going to be able to watch them like a hawk 24/7 to make sure they're not stealing something. I also think it's really important to do some postcard mailings. So I don't do a ton, but I do events every other month. All the events in the Chicagoland area, I mail out. And then I don't like just listed and just sold. I like quarterly recaps of sales instead, because I think these look much more impressive to people when you can say, hey, these are all the properties that I sold this quarter. And what's nice about that is that because our transactions are longer, oftentimes you can say that this property went under contract first quarter, close second quarter, so you can use it on 2 postcards. So it makes it look like you have double the transaction volume. Okay. So I send these out once a quarter. So plan on end of third quarter, sending a postcard out, end of the year, sending a postcard out. And especially if you work in a large area, what's nice about this is that people can see on here, oh my gosh, I didn't realize Shay works in Chicago and the suburbs, et cetera. And so it's gotten me a lot of business from people just saying, I didn't realize you worked in Naperville. My sister wants to buy in Naperville. I'm going to hook the 2 of you guys up together. As I said from the beginning, I also think it's really important that you do client appreciation events. Okay. So these are some ideas of different ones you can do on here. I think everybody should be doing at least 1 client appreciation event this fall, ideally 2, maybe an end of summer event. You could do a quick ice cream social where you just say, hey, I'm going to be at this ice cream parlor from 2 to 4 on Saturday. Show up and I'll buy you an ice cream. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be super involved, right? For events, I do think it's really important you get sponsors. So I always have 2 sponsors for every event that I do. That cuts my cost in third. So examples of sponsors, lenders, financial planners, anybody you're giving a lot of referrals to, painters, electricians, title people, etc. Have them sponsor your event, put them on the event invitation, thank them at the event, etc., and have them pay a third of that cost. That way you can do a third more events or 3 times as many events and keep your costs low. Okay. I'm a huge fan of Thanksgiving pie pickups. We do one every fall. We used to have everybody come to our office. Now we just have, we've got like 500 or 600 clients who pick up pies. It's too much. So now what we do is we pick 4 different locations, 2 in Chicago, 2 in the suburbs. We work with a bakery and our clients can go to that bakery anytime the Tuesday before Thanksgiving when they're open, and they can pick up a pie. And we have labels that go on the pie boxes there, since we're not going to necessarily be there all day to see them in person, right? So, pie pickups I think are a great thing to do. I don't love Costco pies for this. I feel like if you're going to do a pie pickup, get a nicer pie for your clients. Again, have sponsors so that you can spend $5 or $6 a pie, but you're buying a $15 or $20 pie because you have a sponsor. So it feels luxurious and fancy to your clients. I think pop buys are also really important. So we try to do 1 or 2 pop buys a year where we drop stuff off, not to every client because we have too many, but to kind of VIPs and things like that. Again, we have sponsors for these. So we have 2 sponsors for every pop buy. They help drop off a third of the pop buys as well, so we can drop them off to more people. I always like to do pop buys that are very visual so that our clients can take pictures of them and post them on social media and thank us for it. And that way all their friends and family can see the cool gifts that their realtor is popping by for them. I also think it's really nice if you can pop it by their office, if they're back in the office versus their home, for any gift that you're going to send them or drop off, because that way their colleagues can see the cool gift that their realtor is dropping off. That gets us a lot of clients as well. I also like pop-ins where you'll pick a place like an ice cream place or a donut shop and say, hey, I'm going to be there these 2 hours, pop in and I'll buy you a donut, or show this picture anytime this day and they'll give you a free donut, things like that. I think client gifts are very important as well. So we always do an ornament each year. The first year a client buys a home with us that says home for the holidays, the year they bought their house, and it has a picture of their house on it. And we send these to them if they celebrate Christmas in a Christmas card as well. And then I think gifts for milestones are important. So this is my son when he was a baby in a baby onesie. So anytime we have a client who's going to have a baby, we send them a baby onesie. If we have a client who gets a dog, we send them poop bag dog holders with our contact information. So I'm really looking for milestone moments when people have a baby, get a divorce, job change, get married, or get a pet, because those are oftentimes the 5 times their housing needs change. So I have gifts for each of those 5 things so that I can be front and center when something important happens in their life that may change their housing needs. Last couple of things, online events. We always do a letter from Santa program every year that we advertise on Facebook, where people can sign up to have a personalized letter from Santa sent to their child. This costs us about $20 online to advertise it, but we always pick up new clients from this. This is an example of the letter. We change the letter up every year. We sign it from Santa, we send it to the North Pole in Alaska, they stamp it, they mail it back to the kid, right? And this is great because people can do this for grandkids, nieces, nephews, etc., right? So it's not just for people that necessarily have kids. Lastly, I think you should think about what can you do for the transaction to make you memorable for the clients on the other side of the transaction. So one of the things that we do is we ask our sellers, when we're representing sellers, to leave snacks at the inspection for the buyers and to leave them a nice note about how excited they are, they're buying the home, et cetera, for 2 reasons. One is that I find if I can get the buyers to like my sellers, and they end up asking for less on inspection, and it's a smoother transaction if everybody likes each other. And it's not good to have people hangry at an inspection. So leave some snacks, leave a nice little note. My sellers are always on board with this because I'm like, look, they're going to ask you for less stuff on inspection if you leave some snacks and a nice little note, right? It also just sets the experience apart from other real estate transactions. And because we try to make things as stress-free for people as possible. So one of the things that we do is I hate when buyers get keys in like a tattered Ziploc bag. I just think that's so gross. So we buy burlap bags from Amazon. We put the keys in there, the garage door openers. We have a little note, on it. We typically also put in the fridge when we're representing a seller or a buyer. We put champagne in the fridge with a little note. And then we keep in contact with the clients on both sides of the transaction after the transaction closes to make sure mail got picked up okay, that they don't have any questions for the seller. And by making ourselves memorable and helpful to the people on the other side of the transaction, we're often able to get their business down the road when they're ready to buy or sell again, because most of the time their realtor did not do a good job of staying in contact with them. We did, not in an annoying way, but in a helpful way. And so we're able to get their business down the road. Last thing, and I know we're going over a minute or two, reviews and recommendations are very important for you to get. I use realsatisfied.com. It's $99 a year. It sends them a detailed survey to fill out. They fill it out and then they can leave a testimonial that comes in a nice little graphic. With a touch of a button, I can put that review on realtor.com, Facebook, and Twitter. Then what I do, or my team does, is we copy the review, we send it back to them with a $10 Starbucks gift card that we do through Real Satisfied. That's an option through there. And we say, hey, thank you so much for leaving us this review. This was so kind of you. Could you please copy and paste this review, put it on Zillow, put it on Yelp, put it on Google. Here's the links. We would really appreciate it because, as you know, we don't advertise our services. Everything comes from word of mouth referrals. And so by sending them that $10 Starbucks e-gift card, I think they feel obligated to leave us that review. And so they oftentimes will put it on one of the places like Zillow, Yelp, etc. Because again, 2 out of 3 people are going to research you extensively. They are looking for reviews. So it's very important that you get reviews. Okay. Then we'll also post them on Facebook. We'll tag the clients so all their friends and family can see the review that they left for us. Again, that gets us more clients. Okay. So that was everything in a nutshell. I apologize. We ran over about 3 minutes. I am going to put a copy of these slides today on my Facebook page, Shay Hata, real estate speaker and coach. So that will be on there. You can leave questions for me on there as well. Otherwise, I'm happy to stay on for a few extra minutes. So if people have questions, they can put them in the question box and we can answer those as well. Sam, I'm going to turn it over to you to just wrap it up.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking as you were going through all those ideas, which we will send out the recording. I want to say there's probably a dozen different things that you should be doing based on what Shay is doing. But one word kept coming to mind, and that's planting seeds. So what you need to be doing is go through all of this, think of how you're going to do that. And if you weren't fully paying attention, you hear Shay go, I do this. This is the sponsor. This is when we do it. So my recommendation to everybody is build it once and let your systems tell you when you need to do this every year. Because if you rely on yourself, it's not going to get done. And we all know that. I've been there. I need to get this done. I don't write it down. I don't have a system to remind me, and it doesn't get done. So thank you so much, Shay. Super good stuff. Based on what everyone's saying, it looks like everyone really enjoyed it as well. If you have any questions, let Shay know. Definitely go to her Facebook. Can you say that again, Shay? And I can put it in the chat here for everybody so they know where to find you.
Yes. Yep. So it's going to be on Facebook. It's Shay Hata, real estate speaker and coach. So I'll have those posted today, those slides. And then as Sam said, they're also going to send out a copy of the slides along with the recording. So you'll get that in a couple of days. But if you're anxious to get started, you can look at Facebook later today and the slides will be on there. There's also a bunch of other tips that I post occasionally on there as well, or you can ask me questions on there too.
Yes. And we'll go ahead and wrap up. I did have something I was going to share on the screen, but I'll just say it. My screen share doesn't seem to be working very well right now. Go to realevolve.com. So if you're looking for a CRM, if you're looking for a system, if you want to run things like Shay, go to realevolve.com. You can start a free trial. Do that. And then the second thing you should do is connect with us. So just get on an enrollment call with us. We'll talk you through kind of what this looks like, what workflows are, how these workflows can be applied to everything from lead conversion to client communication to systems and processes and operations. It's a really incredibly powerful system. So go to realevolve.com, start a free trial. If you want us to talk with you, let us know. All right. I put that poll up there. If this is something you're looking for, we're more than happy to help you out. And we'll give you a ring. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shay. It doesn't look like we had any questions come in, so we'll send you guys the recording, and we'll see y'all next time.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.